YouTubers! Mike Martins here. Mike Martins channel, man. I got a really good article for you guys. Happy Saturday morning. Don't forget to join me tonight for Mike in the Night, where people call in and give us their insights. Tonight on Mike in the Night, we're going to be doing mass exodus, people leaving the major cities, and people that are stuck in a major city and want to get out because the affordability levels are out of reach. Douglas Todd, my man Dougie Todd. Some temporary residents not paying debts before leaving Canada. Who would do something like this? There are no estimates of the number of non-permanent residents who leave Canada paying their debts. It began with Chinese language news story about the international students in Canada maxing out their credit cards on computers and clothing before leaving the country. That led to an investigation that discovered a phenomena involving some temporary residents of Canada who depart the country without settling credit card debt, fulfilling their retail borrowing commitments, or honoring their automobile payments. George Lee, an immigration lawyer in Burnaby, has been aware of the problem and transnational consumer debt for years. He's been drawn into multiple lawsuits in which residents of Canada scour the world to find people who have left the country without reimbursing what they owe. This phenomena has been going on now for quite a while. I've dealt with our agreements or contracts like this. Sometimes a credit card company has to go after a person, but that person is in China or somewhere else, and the client doesn't have much power to get them, says Lee. Although the veteran of immigration lawyer has been hired to trace non-permanent residents of Canada who head out of the country, leaving debts, he has also read about a problem in the Chinese language media in social media platforms such as Weibo. Lee can't estimate the number of non-permanent residents of Canada who leave the country before paying their debts. However, many people don't take defaulting seriously. They might joke, maybe I'll do that, but I don't have a percentage on how many are doing it. This is just what a selfish person does. I think most people care about their financial credit reputation. Lee, who frequently travels to China, said tracing people in distant lands who don't pay their credit card debts is made more difficult because it's normally a civil matter, not a criminal offense, so police don't normally get involved. There's Lee right there. Lawyer there. Articles in Chinese language media outlets describe the international students going on credit card luxury shopping sprees in Canada. The articles say they swipe their cards to buy computers, mobile phones, clothing, cosmetics in Canada, which they often sell at lower prices throughout the underground economy. They hawk the goods, Lee said, either before they leave Canada or after returning to Asia. SETI, I can't read that, the University of BC planning professor emeritus is also the problem of debt defaults by some international students and other non-permanent residents, of which are more than 1.4 million in Canada. Wow! This has been going on for at least 5 years, Penduker said. When international students who renege on payments go back to China, he said, their credit card will be the same as before. Since defaulters don't normally get a criminal record in Canada, he says they get off scot-free in China. Indian porn Pendukar, who has traveled to China more than 86 times, has helped shape the populous country. Throughout his work in World Bank as a senior advisor to China's State Council, which is similar to the Privy Council of Canada, his knowledge of bad credit comes from conversations with Chinese friends and officials in both China and Canada. Many of more than 180,000 students from China who are studying in Canada, with 50,000 in BC, are from well-off families and don't have the grades to get into places such as SFU and Capilano University or Langara College, Panduker said. A large proportion attend what he calls private three-room universities in Vancouver and elsewhere. Like many students of higher education, they are bombarded with credit card offers from companies looking for new, well-heeled clients, Penduker said. I know of that 7 young foreign students under 20 years of age with 3 credit cards with $5,000 limit on every card. Crossing the border to dodge the debt is part of a wider problem. The 7 largest U.S. credit card issuers now face the highest level in almost a decade of loans they never expected to collect. Still, most credit card companies do well on the stock market, and other competition for future high-end customer remains fierce. Although consumer debt is rising in many countries, the Financial Times reports that Chinese millennials' love of credit cards is particularly rising debt fears, with young people not following the frugal ways of their parents in China. The country has seen 40% rise in 1 year outstanding consumer loans used for vehicle purchases, holidays, household renovations, and expensive goods. Aside from the central bank database provides limited information, China lacks credit data on consumers. While the average U.S. consumer credit history dates back 14 years, financial specialists say credit information on most residents on China only go back a few months. Still, Reuters News is among those who have reported some students in China are being driven to suicide by staggering interest rates and aggressive, sometimes violent debt collection techniques of new online lenders who target university campuses. Vancouver Fenella Sang, and translator, a former Chinese language talk show host, who said she spent most of the year trying to get paid by a rich young man from China who used her language services to unsuccessfully apply to extend his permanent residence status in Canada. The Canadian system, Sang said, simply has no effective way to deal with those who want to come here temporarily, take advantage of our system for their own selfish gain, and then move on. Lee, the immigration lawyer, said collecting on bad debt is never easy, but it's especially difficult to hunt down non-residents who skip the country. He advises Canadians who offer credit to young people to get their parents to sign on guarantors. For as anyone planning to rack up bad debt in Canada and then flees across an international border, Lee says some prudent advice. Who knows? He says, you might change your plans and want to come back. Yes, guys. Here in the West, we skip trace. We use a skip tracing technique to see if anyone's run their SIN number in an employer, run their SIN number, social security number in the States in applying for credit seeking inquiries. So there's ways to do it, right? And they cannot create a gap on file without fully going bankrupt. So there'll be no gap on file. So the only way to create a gap is to go fully bankrupt, create your 7-8 year gap, and then reapply for credit again. So if they don't file for bankruptcies, a lot of these plaintiffs and dockets and all this stuff is going to sit on their credit bureau until they come back, right? Or until they find them, right? So I think with China's social credit score, I think they're going to start cracking down on this, because this is a big deal. This is going to affect the credit card companies in a way where they're just going to raise interest rates on the other people. The other people already, the Canadian proper that live here and work here and invest in the infrastructure. And when I say Canadian proper, people from all over the world that make up this country, that invested in the infrastructure, send their kids to school, and depend on this infrastructure. What's happening is they're going to have a hike in interest rates because of the people defaulting on their credit cards. So we've already been bought out of our housing by foreign rich investors and money laundering, and then now credit cards are going to go up, and it's going to be an absolute disaster. That's why I just carry no debt, and I keep it that way. This way, any disposable income I have, I know I feel confident on spending it. So how are they going to fix this problem? Well, the credit card companies are just going to raise interest rates, plain and simple, or raise fees and raise other things. They'll even start sending a letter, due to the amount of defaults, we're going to have to raise your interest rate. Who knows? Let me know what you guys think. This is really bad practice. I don't know why this greed is just so phenomenal. Like for me, I grew up with my family. Debt is bad. Don't apply for debt. If you don't have the money, you don't buy it. If you don't have the money, you don't need it. You know what I'm saying? So let me know what you guys think. Comment below in the comment section. Thanks for watching.